There seems to be, among Democrats, a desire to rationalize this as it is somehow the voters' fault rather than, or the messenger's fault, rather than the message itself.
Well, I actually think there's going to be a big autopsy. You know, we're just in day one, right? So there's going to be a real reckoning. I think it'll be a combination of wondering how the American public could vote for a self-described strongman. That's not our system. Viktor Orban, these other strongmen that he admires, that he talks to all the time. We have a different system here in the United States. So I think it's a legitimate question to ask, why did voters go for an authoritarian, self-described authoritarian
so
leader?
If we say
then,
why?
But also to take a hard look inside and ask where Democrats went wrong. So you want to do both of those things.
Right, but there seems to be a desire to focus on there must be something wrong with the voter themselves.
No, you're just trying to make it seem like everybody's with deplorable Hillary Clinton. That's not what's going on.
Hold on, but let me
There's a weakness for strength among now a majority of the electorate, a weakness for strength, for a strong man.
Isn't that calling them?
No,
calling somebody who has a desire for strength. Isn't that calling them deplorable or anything else?
No. And this idea of like trying to go after people for calling voters they disagree with deplorable. You can respect the Trump voter and believe they are wrong. That happens to be my position. I have great respect for my fellow Americans.
Is there a desire
I would never, ever call them deplorable, but I reserve the right to say to them they were wrong to respond to his demagoguery, his fear-mongering, his lies by supporting him.
Okay, let me
for
play
president.
this.
That's not the same as saying they're deplorable.
Okay,
I'll
concede.
Don't conflate the two.
I'll concede.
Don't conflate them.
Let me play this from the PBS NewsHour. Take a listen.
I'm looking at a lot of things, especially after David talked about looking at counties and, you know, how Trump is gaining on what he did in 2020. And to me, I'm mystified in some ways, simply because we're talking about a twice impeached, 4 times indicted, convicted on 34 felony counts, former president.
Is there not voters, and I'm thinking about places in Chicago, Houston, Dallas. These are urban areas that shifted by double digits to Donald Trump. These are not white rural.
Trump lost those areas by a large margin, just so we're clear. He didn't win in those areas. He cut the margins, which were immense. I mean, you could caucus in a phone booth, Republicans in those towns.
In your hometown of Chicago, he beat his 2020 numbers by 25 points.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal.
That requires an examination to say that there is a lot of people who were Democratic voters who switched.
Yeah.
Does that not say it doesn't have anything to do with liking authoritarianism, or does it say people are so desperate and so angry at Democrats they are willing to vote for someone they may not like and they may not respect because they believe he is going to help them?
Well, there's a lot of motives for voters on both sides. I think what was powering that in my hometown of Chicago is this tremendous shift among Latino men.
Over immigration?
No, it's actually over a lot of things. And so there was an Allentown radio talk show host who, because Allentown is heavily Latino, who said it was simply, is a Latino host, Latino culture, machismo culture. Not only would they not vote for a woman now, they will never vote for a woman, this talk show host said on television today. Never, he said. So there are cultural factors at work. Some of them are legitimate political concerns. There is some, deep economic concerns. But voters vote for a mix of reasons. And I reject sort of simplistic voter motivation descriptions. But the fact remains, they voted for a self-described strongman. And what Jonathan, who I disagree with on a lot of issues, Jonathan Capehart, by the way, we disagree on many things. I'm more conservative than he is. But when he
wouldn't be hard.
When he says that it is really astonishing that a twice impeached,
It is astonishing. I guess that's the point. But
felon became president of the United States. He's absolutely right about it.
He is absolutely right. I think that shows how desperate so many Americans are from Bernie Sanders. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they are right. Is Bernie Sanders wrong too?
No, I don't think he is. He's talking about a process that's gone on for 40 years now. Both parties, going back to the 1970s, hollowed out industrial base. You go through these towns in all of these states, and some of them look like ghost towns.
Sure. We've been to a lot of them.
But the idea that this is all the fault of the Democratic Party is wrong. Inflation, because Republicans presided over a lot of this as well. But what happened, Leland, is that inflation is a killer political issue. You know, I wrote a biography of Jimmy Carter. It's a killer political issue. Unemployment just hits most
unemployment
non-voters.
Non-voters.
Like 10%.
Inflation affects everybody.
When it's high, it affects everybody. So it's just a killer issue.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.